Eric Pausini with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the top team stacks here for week 2 of the NFL DFS season. And if there was a shining point, I guess, of last week for the content, it was pretty good all around fades. About 50% of the fades didn't hit value, which, pretty good mark. Core plays did pretty well, except for like James Robinson struggled, didn't catch a couple of passes there. But other than that, pretty on point. The team stacks were really good. Carolina stack did well, especially if you went with the defense. Dan Arnold was somewhat of a miss, but we were on DJ Moore, Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey, and then we told you guys to run it back with Corey Davis, so obviously that set you up pretty well. And then just looking at the San Francisco 49ers one, that team stack did well. Jimmy G, kind of a slow start with Trey Lance taking a touchdown from him. Raheem Mostert ended up getting injured, which was horrible. That would have been another like 20 DK points probably. You just give him like Elijah Mitchell's points. But then Deebo Samuel, 30 points there. Niners defense did well, 7 DK points there. And then we also told you guys to run it back with Quintez Cephas, who ended up with double-digit fantasy points as well. So, 2 out of the 3 team stacks that we told you to be on did well. One of the team stacks, the Atlanta Falcons, struggled, okay? But it was mostly due to the fact that they just kept kicking themselves in the foot. So, interesting stuff there. I'm going to give you guys 5 team stacks for this slate, which I'm pretty excited for. We'll start off with the Arizona Cardinals. So the Arizona Cardinals. Now, yes, you have to pay a lot for this kind of team stack, but I think it's going to be worth it. So we can start off with Kyler Murray, obviously quarterback there. Feel pretty good about him. Projected to score 23.2 DK points. Then DeAndre Hopkins, love him as well. The Minnesota Vikings, they're going to be a defense that I think we can attack. They got tore up by the Bengals last week, okay? And you can't tell me that like DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk even aren't better kind of together as those guys. And you could even go with, if you wanted to, Chase Edmonds, who did look good. I did think James Conner looked good as well. You could go with one of those running backs as well. For now, I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds, have him projected to score the most. It's actually projecting out to be one that you can take advantage of pretty well here. I don't really agree with the 19 DK point projection that Chase Edmonds has. But, it's not a bad thing to see. Overall, this is going to give you a 3.1 average return on your value. Feel pretty good about those 4. And then, obviously, if you wanted to, you could run it back with Dalvin Cook. You could run it back with Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen. I don't really love any of those ones too much. I actually kind of like the Cardinals defense. So you could also include the Cardinals defense if you wanted to go that route. So we'll get into the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Atlanta Falcons I don't love just because of how much they kind of shot themselves in the foot last week, but the TDs were there. They really just had untimely penalties and mistakes in the red zone, or else they would have scored touchdowns, okay? Mike Davis had a drop that would have been a touchdown. Mike Davis had a couple of drops. He probably, dropped 10 DK points worth. If he scores that touchdown, another one that would have been like a 30 to 40 point or 3 to 4 point play they dropped. So, just a worrisome there. But I do want to attack this game as a whole. So we got Calvin Ridley, we got Matt Ryan, and then I think we could go with Russell Gage as well, although I don't love that as much, just given the fact that Russell Gage almost had a really fantastic catch on the sidelines, just couldn't get his second toe in. But I want to go with these 2 for sure. And then it's either going to be Kyle Pitts, Russell Gage, or Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst played a little bit more than people thought, and he looked pretty good. I didn't mind him, but obviously we could run it back with Antonio Brown. We could run it back with, and I'll just get that pulled up here. So get that game pulled up here as well. So we want to go Calvin Ridley. We want to go Matt Ryan, Antonio Brown. So we already feel pretty good about that. Let's just throw Russell Gage in there for now. We got a pretty good stack going. At least we could probably fit, another good value or receiver playing there. So we're pretty good. Have to fill in with some value there with the 331K total for this, 5 players. But you can do that on this site. That's not going to be too bad. Obviously, this game could end up being a shootout if the Falcons don't shoot themselves in the foot once again. Although I do think Tampa Bay's defense is much better than they showed last week. But I kind of expect the Falcons to correct their mistakes from last week. Now we're going to get into kind of my favorite stack of the week, mostly because it's a lot of value, a lot of good value. We got Andy Dalton, we got Allen Robinson, David Montgomery, and then you could go with Darnell Mooney or Marquise Goodwin. I like Goodwin for the fact that while he's projected to get 14.4 DK points, okay, that's a good amount, but that's a lot due to the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals gave up a decent amount of points to KJ Osborne last week. KJ Osborne is a slot receiver for them, and I'm correcting the screen here. Let me just do that. There we go. So KJ Osborne for the Minnesota Vikings, he did well, and he was open quite a bit. So for me, I think that kind of the third receiver is what I'm trying to get at. Goodwin is going to be an appealing target for a guy that looked pretty good last week. Overall, I liked what I saw on film from him. He got targeted a decent amount. Andy Dalton didn't look bad as well. You know, there's that one tip pass, the one drop touchdown. You had Justin Fields coming in and taking a touchdown as well. If you give him one of those touchdowns, he easily hits value. And at this price point, he's easily going to hit value as well. He's not projected to get high ownership. You got David Montgomery in an equally as good of matchup. And then you got Allen Robinson at a great price point, 6.2, because he didn't do well last week. I really like the stack. It's a sneaky good stack, and then you could easily run it back with one of the Cincinnati Bengals players if you want, although I'm kind of going to be avoiding them. I kind of see the Bears having a good week in this one. And now we're going to get into kind of two of the more obvious ones, I guess, if you will. We're going to go with the positive regression, or as people like to call it, progression, with the Green Bay Packers. So easily just Adams, Aaron, and Aaron. You just put them both, or all three of them, into your builds, and you feel pretty good about that. Detroit Lions were really bad defensively, and I expect the Packers to kind of blow them out. I expect them to have a much better week this week. Adams probably going to score 20 DK points. Aaron Jones probably going to score 20 DK points, and Rodgers probably going to score 20 DK points. If you even want to go with MVS, you could do that as well. Overall, I think that this has a very high ceiling of a stack at a price discount because they struggled last week. And then the last one of my favorite ones as well, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you guys probably noticed that I didn't mention the Chargers at all. You guys can stack them. That's going to be a good game. I don't like to do the obvious. A lot of times people come out here and say the obvious. I don't want to do that. We're going to go with Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, and then for now I'm going to go with Rager, just a little bit cheaper than Devonta Smith. Could go Quez Watkins as well. I don't mind him. I think he's going to be a great value option once again on the site. He had 5 DK points last week, which that all happened on the first drive. So maybe he gets a little bit more work throughout the game other than the first drive and, easily hits value. But I really want to go with these 3 to start off with. We got Sanders, Hurts, Rager. Now, the Eagles weren't as impressive defensively as the stats are saying as well. So if you want to run it back with a Niners player, you can. But I do want to point out the Niners. They were bad defensively. It was weird. The Detroit Lions aren't supposed to be good offensively. Now, if Jared Goff had some accuracy in the first half, really up until the last 3 drives of the fourth quarter, they probably win because he had receivers wide open. And, that's probably what was part of the game plan for the Niners. It's like, hey, let Jared Goff beat us, especially after Detroit really went down the field rushing-wise. So they probably, hey, let Jared Goff beat us. And obviously he didn't. That probably was part of their planning there. But the fact of the matter is, it was not pretty. We had the Eagles offense, who was highly impressive. Sanders looked good, Hurts looked good, and Rager looked good. If you guys want to include Kenneth Gainwell in there as like another add-on to the stack, you could do that. He looked impressive. But for me, it's going to be these 3. I feel pretty good about it, especially given the price points. 3.2 value return, I feel pretty good about that. But that's all I have for the team stacks this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. If you guys want to join 9 to 5 Nation, the link is in the description below. All right, thanks for watching, guys. As always, let's keep cashing.